If you find something you enjoy doing it, there is a way to make it work. If you're willing to put in the work, you can't just ask for it for free. I mean, maybe you could, that would be awesome. I feel if you put in the effort, the universe provides for you, like probably 10 times more.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Master Your Life Beyond the Boardroom. I am your podcast host, Luke Beastall, and I have, yes, an international guest joining us in the studio today. Her name is Danielle Blum. Now, she's the founder of the Blum Creative. Now, that's an agency that works in so many different avenues, which I will let her go into more detail of, but she is a fast-growing thriller author. Now, I'm not going to give too much away where she stands, but she's going to the top. I'm going to really be transparent with you. Her whole sort of narrative, her story, even her own story, which we're going to delve into today, is one that is not, I would say, as people deem as normal. It's not the average. It's a route that's took so many different twists and turns. I mean, just to give you an example, she was born in America, Nevada, California, and now she's in Portugal and she's close to landing her residency. So I'm sure a lot of people that are going to listen to this episode today are going to be really keen on the edge of their seats to know how this process all worked and what got her to this place today. So I'm going to keep it quiet now and I'm just going to welcome you in, Danielle. Danielle, thank you so much for being with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited. I've been looking forward to this conversation.
Oh, I know. And honestly, I have as well. Because when we had that first initial chat, which I love to do with guests now, it just sort of free flowed really well, didn't it? And it just sort of, I don't know, it just made me curious, and I thought I can't wait to like dig deep into sort of your life and what you've been doing.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride. I've definitely taken a lot of different paths to get where I am. Definitely not conventional. I would say people when I talk to people now, they're like, "How are you doing so many different things in so many different places?" And the answer is I'm just built this way. I'm one of those people that needs to have 700 different things going on once to get anything done. If I have one thing to do, procrastination takes over and it doesn't get there. So, the more balls I'm juggling, the more successful I am. But they tend to be on the creative side of things, definitely, but travel and just kind of experiencing as much as I can about as much as I can wherever I am.
Yeah, so that's quite interesting, and I like that because it's not really common to hear somebody say that. Like people talk a lot about juggling lots of plates, spinning, getting a bit overwhelmed. Do you feel overwhelmed with all the things that you do?
Can, definitely, but I took 5 years and finally made the perfect planner for me. So it has like it has a 7-day habit tracker. So then I can do, okay, this week I need to post on social media every single day for whatever. I can cross it off. I'm one of those people with a pen and paper. I need to slash it out to feel accomplished. But I was trying to do it with the month-long ones, and then I would see that I missed a day, and then I missed a day, and then I missed a day again, and I would just see how many empty days there were compared to full days, and it would just be so overwhelming, and I would just get burned out on it and just be like, "You know what? Never mind." But with 7 days, it's much more manageable to be like, "Oh, you did 6 days out of 7, like, high five, like, you did great." And so building systems to kind of keep everything in track, and I definitely have the neuro spicy brain going on, so a little bit of the ADHD and everything like that, so I have to find ways that keep me excited and on track. So usually when I plan out my week, I'll be like, okay, this, and this has to get done by Friday. And I'll put in my planner like, okay, Monday will be newsletter, Tuesday will be book, this or that. But on Monday, if I don't feel like writing my newsletter, I'll just pick another task that I feel more like doing. Because then I'm not wasting my time. I'm not getting distracted. I'm excited to be doing the work. So I just switch in my calendar. And as long as that stuff gets done by the deadline, then I'm pretty flexible on how and when I do it. Because sometimes creativity strikes at the least opportune moments, especially when I'm sleeping in bed at night. So, but I'm not going to get up and do it. So I take my notes. But as long as I kind of have a general plan, the details of how that plan get done are pretty flexible.
Yeah, so you don't plan too far ahead, but you plan far enough ahead to
No.
keep you structured in a way.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have a big calendar that has, like, deadlines and, like, big things
Sure.
that are coming up that I can glance at, but as far as, like, routine schedule, I don't really do block it's not like 8 to 9 AM, I'm working on this, and 10 to 11, I'm working on that. It's usually like, okay, throughout this day, I need to get one of these 3 or 5 tasks done, and then I can move on because, like, some days I just don't wanna write anything, or sometimes I don't wanna do social media, and I wanna do something completely different. But being flexible in that way and giving myself permission to do something that I'm a little bit more passionate about in that moment really keeps the momentum going.
Yeah, so you said yeah, this is what I love. So you said the word permission.
Mhm.
When did you give yourself that permission?
So, I learned a lot. I was really awkward growing up, like, super skinny. I don't know if you guys know this word lurpy. It's, like, very common in my hometown, but, like, very
Okay.
skinny, very long, just braces with huge teeth, like, a very awkward person, and I was so uncomfortable for so long and so shy, and then my dad met this woman at the mall who happened to be, like, 6'2" or something, or I don't know what that is in inches, but taller than I am,
Yeah, yeah.
and asked her, like, why like, how did she go through life, like, navigating being this really tall person in the world where everyone else is a little bit shorter, and she just said, like, "Oh, this is how I was born. I'm gonna rock it. I don't have another choice." And for some reason, that conversation he had with that woman really impacted me, and the next day, I was like, "You know what? I'm just gonna be my weird self. I'm gonna wear the snorkel and fins to school when we go to beach day. I'm gonna be the one that's a little bit more obnoxious because if I'm making fun of myself, then no one else really can." So I gave myself permission to be just weird and quirky and not think about it and just do it, and that has definitely been a trajectory since I was, like, 13 now. I'm kind of not listening to what is it expected, but how in the world am I gonna present myself where I'm comfortable in my own skin?
Okay. Okay. So this is actually really great piece that you're sharing here. So thank you for sort of being honest. There's a lot we could go really deep on this. We could go so many different ways. So what was life then like for you growing up for the first 13 years of your life before you gave yourself that permission?
Painfully shy. I would be around a group of friends and just not wanna say a single thing, so I didn't know what to say or I was being judged. Like, I had friends and I was in the group, but I wouldn't be actively participating unless it was a smaller group of us. So once I kind of was like, "You know what? This is me. I'm just gonna wave this freak flag and go for it." And I was able to be this authentic person who I am and getting this more confidence. Then I was creating all these relationships I was missing out on because I was too afraid of what they might think of me in that sense. So kind of just stopping caring is really what gave me the confidence to go forward and then create these bigger connections and meet these people and then have the best relationships of my life. Like I'm from a small town, so most of my friends I've known since I was 5, so 30 plus years, maybe longer.
That's insane, but so good that you, I guess, gave yourself that clean flag, that flag to be like, "Hey, this is me. I'm real." But that must have also, at that age, been really hard because I guess you're sort of finding all your emotions. You find, hormones. You've got
Mhm.
everything sorting to happen. Obviously, like you say, you didn't feel like you fit in. You're from a small town. There wasn't lots and lots of people. You were shy, and then you sort of found your voice, I guess, in a way.
I did, and then also there was another critical thing that happened at that age. I guess I was probably about 14 or 15. My dad's girlfriend at the time passed away super suddenly from a brain aneurysm, like, out of the blue, like, fairly healthy. So we said goodnight to her that night, and the next morning she would had already passed. So that happening at such a young age and just really realizing that life is really short and
Mm,
you don't get more time than anyone else, like, you don't know when it's gonna be taken short. There was just a situation that happened before that kind of was just like, "Oh, okay, like, I'll see you tomorrow," because we were arguing about something. She was like, about my mom, and it was like the stepmom kind of a thing, so we were arguing, so we left in an argument, but then I never got to say goodbye to her. I did get to say goodbye to her, but she had already passed at this time, so it was really kind of a slap in the face. It's like, "Whoa, don't tell people like, don't leave without telling them you love them. Like, you don't go to bed mad, you never hang up the phone on someone." So learning that at such a young age also kind of pivoted it too. Is like, what we have one life. Why am I going to be afraid to be who I am when I'm supposed to be this person? So then, yeah. So those two things of that conversation and then that death, and then there was many other deaths at a very young age that just kind of solidified that fact. It was like, okay, I'm gonna live on my own terms, do what I want to do because we only have this opportunity, and I'm not gonna live on for someone else and do their things. So I think by 17, I was pretty much on that path. Is like I'm gonna do what makes me happy, regardless if it's what's normal or what's not.
that's that. I mean, by the way, sorry for the losses on that. I mean, at such a young age as well, it can have an impact. But you did spin it on into a positive, right? You took it in your own hands and was like, "I'm going to be me."
Yeah, and I think my whole town, I think we were hit with, like, 15 or 20 deaths in a very short period of time in formative years, and
Gosh,
I think that's probably why now as adults, like, we're all still very close friends because we went through a lot at a very young age, and I think we're all here to learn the same lessons, but we just happen to learn them at different stages in our lives, and I learned this one at a young age that gave me a lifetime of opportunity to really just go with living life on my terms and not really. I mean, I did the university thing, like, I did all that. Would I do it again? Absolutely not. It was fun, I guess, like, there was some fun part of it, but, like, that wasn't my highlight reel was, like, "Ooh, college." Like, no, like, my life started really after that when I was like, "You know what? I'm quitting my big girl job, I'm selling everything I own, and I'm getting a one-way ticket to Costa Rica." And then that's kind of when it was like, "Okay, now we're going. Now we're doing life. Like, this is fun."
Yeah, so this is really cool to sort of, I guess, unpack because you had the deaths, but I guess did it bring your friends closer together as a result of that in a way of, I guess,
Absolutely, yeah,
yeah,
and I think too, like, that has influenced the way they all live as well, like, we all kind of have this same mentality is like, "Okay, like, we're gonna have fun and we're gonna do what we want, we're gonna make money, but we're gonna do it how we wanna do it," and I think that
yes,
whole mentality from that whole generation of just dealing with these unexpected deaths, like, it was just kind of we all learned those lessons.
yeah, and I think obviously you shared that it given you a bit of a, I guess, a nice wake up call though, right? Not a bad one. A lot of people sort of miss that perception of, we're all going to die. We're all going to die at one day.
Yeah,
It's a guarantee
exactly.
in life. And you, at 13, I mean, gosh, it's still traumatic in a way to even go through that. Then it's 17 to be really leaning into your authentic self. And then at 21, you're booking a one-way ticket flight to
Mhm.
Costa Rica. So, before that, before you booked that ticket and what job was you in? What was you doing? Like, what was before you decided, all right, I'm just going to sell up and go?
So I was working for a nonprofit in Las Vegas. That's where I went to university. Yeah, I know. I went from a small town to being dropped off in the middle of Sin City at 18 with no supervision. Super fun, like for that extent.
Yeah.
So I had my big girl job, which was a special events coordinator for a nonprofit, the Arthritis Foundation, and I had been there for a couple years, and I had graduated, and then I was going I think I was in Hawaii actually for a wedding, and I had come back, and my boss brought me in and we're like, "Well, we're gonna either lay you off or promote you because we're gonna close this office down. We just don't have what we need here in Vegas." And I thought about it and I was like, "Okay." Like, I was planning on quitting this was in November. I was planning on quitting in February to go traveling because it was just like, "You know what? Why not? Let's go." My best friend decided to go with me, so then it was, like, 2 of us planning it, so it was really fun. So I ended up taking the layoff, and then they called me the following week and were like, "Okay, well, we'll just keep you on until February. We'll figure out, like, you can work for the California offices and do some stuff here, and we'll just keep you on that." So that was the universe was kind of like, "Okay, you wanna quit your job and go traveling?" And then I was like, "Okay, here you go." And before that, when I really wanted to go, I had been working for the same job and just took a little holiday to California for the weekend and came back, and I was just like, "You know what? Like, was talking about moving to New York with my best friend and my roommate, like, "Let's go to New York, let's go just have a new adventure," and I came back, and we're sitting at a stoplight, and she's like, "So are we signing our lease again, or are we going to New York?" And I just looked at her, and I was like, "You know what? I'm selling everything I own, I'm quitting my job, and I'm gonna go traveling because 'cause I've been wanting to do it, and no one ever wants to go, so I'm just gonna do it." And she literally looked at me, like, at the stoplight, was like, "Alright, I'm down." So she did the same thing. So both of us, like, quit our jobs, we sold all of our stuff, bought a ticket. Yeah, it was fun. But that's also kind of the thing too, is, like, I waited so long to go traveling at that point, to go do a big trip like this. I waited for someone to come, waited for someone to come. But when I finally decided and was like, "No, I'm just gonna go freaking do it," then it's like, "Oh,
Mm,
yeah, I'll come with you, like, let's go." So it's like, "Oh, okay, if I would've said this 3 years ago, like, maybe I would've been on the
yeah.
road 3 years ago."
Yeah, so what was you waiting for?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess I was having fun, it was Vegas, but I have no idea what I was waiting for. Because 'cause I wanted to be a linguist, that was, like, my dream job, like, travel the world and interpret languages. Turns out I suck at learning languages, that is not my forte, not good at it whatsoever, so I kinda had to pivot a little, and I went to university, and I didn't really have any guidance, like, as far as what I should do as a career or what I should study, so I just did the easiest thing and got an English degree. Have I used it? No. I mean, I guess I did just publish a book, so I might have used
Yeah,
it a little bit.
yeah.
Besides that, like, I had old world wines, new world wines, and distilled spirits, and I'm like, that's what I took away from university was, like, what I learned in those courses.
Right. So obviously this is exciting listening to this, just the fact that you sort of your friend was like, "Yeah, I'm down." It's interesting when somebody makes a big leap that
Yeah.
it's people follow or they don't, but you're going to do it anyway. Now, you know, at that moment when you booked that one-way ticket to Costa Rica, what drew you to go there out of New York? Like, what was the, I'm going to go there?
Well, honestly, it was the cheapest ticket to
Oh,
go from Vegas anywhere. I
okay.
was like, we could,
Yeah.
because I could have picked anywhere in the world. I was like,
Yeah.
where do we
Yeah.
wanna go? We have the world is our oyster, and I remember we were sitting at the desk on top of the desk and pinning a string to the map and being like, "This is gonna be our trip. We're gonna do this." Like, we never succeeded in that plan. We made it to Costa Rica, then we did Nicaragua, then we ended up living in Nicaragua for quite some time before hopping over to Europe, and then she came back a little bit sooner than I did. So we still it was supposed to be like a 10-month around the world trip. I did 10 months, but I only saw like a section of the world, but it was
Okay.
really amazing.
So no, that's so cool that, you just jumped into that. At that moment then, was there no worries around career path? Were you sort of scared, like thinking, am I doing the right thing? Or was you just very much like, I just want to go out and see what happens?
Yeah, well, I mean, in America too, the government and everyone just tells you how scary the world is. Like, it's so dangerous. Don't leave. Like, this is like everything is terrible. Like, don't ever leave. And
Wow.
I was like, you know what? I want to go see it. I want to go see what is out there. And I had always have had a love for traveling. So just kind of also, I think part of who I am is just going and exploring places. Like being in a place where I don't know the language and I don't know how to get around, like, it's terrifying and uncomfortable, but it's, like, my favorite place to be. Just wandering around the streets, popping into this pub or this cafe and this museum. So that was the main motivation, I think, of wanting to do it, was just to go see for myself and make those decisions and assumptions with my own eyes instead of just being told, like, "Hey, you need to go, your university's done. Now you need to get your big girl job and you need to work this whole thing forever." I'm like, "No, I can't. I can't do that." So
So you felt that highest resistance. You'd heard the sort of conditioning that had been going around in your home country, and you was like, nah, that's not me. Because you'd
yeah.
already come from a place of an identity that wasn't you, right? So you wasn't being your authentic
Mhm.
self. You released yourself from that. And then you sort of find yourself falling into this, I guess, conditioning again. And you're like, nah, I'm not
Yeah,
falling
well,
for that. And then
exactly.
you release yourself again from that.
Yeah, well, when they offered me the promotion, it was like it was gonna be good. It was like that was the next step, and it would have just kept going and going and going from there. And if I would have taken that, yeah, the money would have been great. I kind of like the company. A lot of nonprofits are a little bit sketchy on where money goes. Not
Uh
saying
huh.
that this one was, but that is something I'm always weary of, like going into it, because I've just seen a lot of just kind of bad things going on. So I was like, I don't know if this is necessarily what I want to do. If I take this promotion, though, it's going to be too easy to stay, too easy to get comfortable. And then I'm never going to have this opportunity again. Like I'm at this fork in the road. Like, do I do the career path that I should do that's safe, that will give me money, that I kind of, enjoy? It's not my super passion. I love planning events and stuff, but I wasn't like super in love with that job by any means. Or do I just sell everything and just go and, see what happens? And that was in 2010. No, 2012 is when I left everything, and pretty much since that trip, it's been nonstop. I've lived in 8 different countries since then, now full time in getting my citizenship in Portugal. So I've seen a lot of different things and kind of, you know, I'm growing into the woman I'm always supposed to be now, I think, and I know now much more what I want and how to get it versus when I was younger where it's just like, "Let's see what happens and go." So I still don't try and think about things too much because 'cause I'll talk myself out of it if I do. If it feels good, I'm like, "Let's do it, let's go," and, like, not think about it at all until we have to think about it.
Do you know what's really striking me, Danny, is the fact that you was this shy girl.
Like,
You know,
painfully,
yeah.
painfully shy.
And like the way you're like coming across now, energy's bouncing. I've been to 8 countries, done this, sold everything, bang, one-way ticket to Costa Rica, lived in Nicaragua, now I'm in Portugal, 5 years, I've started settling down, I'm an author. And I mean, for the audience sort of listening in on this are gonna be quite blown away and inspired and moved because it's like, wow, it's a big, big thing. And obviously I'm just sort of relaying this back to you because it is massive. It's
Mhm.
there's not many people that have the courage, right, to take these risks. So from taking that one-way ticket, I'd love to know this, and I'm sure the audience are probably thinking the same. From this whole experience of taking that one-way ticket, you had no idea. You stepped into the unknown. You was in a massive discomfort zone.
Mhm.
What's the one thing that you've learned most about yourself from taking that big leap?
Well, I don't want to sound weird, but, like, that I'm unstoppable, really. Like, if you put your mind to it and you do the research you need to do, I mean, like, don't put yourself in a situation where you're gonna be harmed or, don't plop yourself in the middle of somewhere you're gonna go get kidnapped. Like, know what's
Yeah,
going
yeah.
on, but if you can start over in one day, like and the thing too about traveling that I loved so much at the time was, like, I lived at this hostel for like 5 or 6 months. We were running it down there, and I met so many people from so many different places around the world, which are now all my best friends now. Like, I talk to these people in 7 or 8 different countries daily versus, like, my good friends from just Nevada or something like that. But we never had the conversation of, like, "Oh, what do you do in real life? Like, who are you? Like, what kind of person are you?" Like, you can literally wake up every day and be whoever you wanna be because no one knows. And I remember meeting one of my really good friends. He was a maniac, like just a shit show, great person, great fun. But I finally met up with him like 2 years later in London, like where he lived. And he was a hedge fund manager, like had a big kid job. And I was like, I had no idea that this you could be the same. This makes no sense. Like, how does
Right.
this work? But it does. And that was the beautiful part about it is like I got to be whoever I wanted to be every day. Ooh, that gave me goosebumps. But
Yeah.
also, it's funny too because my parents named me Danielle to call me Danny, and as a kid, I refused to go by Danny. I was like, "That's not my name, I'm Danielle." Like, that's it. And when I started traveling, everyone was like, "Oh, Danielle, that's such a boy's name." Like, "Okay." Like, so I started
Really?
going by Danny, which is
Okay.
still equally a boy's name, but it was so much more fitting. So it's funny now that, like, my parents named me this with this idea of who I should be, and I was like, "Absolutely not." And I didn't start going by Danny until I was, like, 24, and, like, that's who I am. Like, I am Danny now. So it's funny because I could tell where I meet people is, like, if they call me Danielle or if they call me Danny. I'm like, "Oh, you're pre-travel days," or, "Oh, you're post-travel days."
But do you know what though? It's sort of hearing how you've become the person that you want to be, right? And I think just how you've spoken there about a friend that you'd met up with, and they've sort of become this person. How does this even marry up? But that is so true, and it doesn't matter at what stage you are in your life. Like, I mean, you sort of see people go through these midlife crises or whatever. They just jump on a plane and everything sort of changes. I think for you to, I guess, meet loads of different people, have loads of conversations, build a massive network, and then come into your creative self. And then now you're writing books. I mean, I think it's just like, how did that come about? When did this sort of like author world and life come to fruition from having English literature that you didn't really care about when you was at university? I'm just curious.
Yeah. Well, honestly, in university, I probably should have studied creative writing and not English literature, but I didn't know. No one told me. So I was just
No,
picking
sure.
classes. So I did Shakespeare for way too many semesters and just, ugh. But I've always been a writer. Like the signs have always been there, like on the puke bags in airplanes, on napkins at bars. My first
Okay.
company I had was called Bare Feet and Bar Napkins because we planned so much of that around the world trip. We planned on bar napkins. So it's just like it's always has been there, and I just whenever I'm in a moment where I have time or like like planes are specifically inspirational for me, so I don't know why, but I can write hundreds of pages there. And then when we got to Portugal and I just kind of found myself in a place like I wasn't working here, it was during COVID. We moved during January of 2021. So we came in September of 2020 because we were stuck in the States and we're like, we need to get out of here, like just
Yeah.
for a little bit. Americans were red listed from Europe and we're like, well, the worst they could say is no and they'll send us back. So we paid like $300 for a COVID test, like the next day ones, got on the plane and we got to Portugal and they're like, welcome, like here's paradise. So we came here, so then we came here the first time and we moved within 5 months. It was never really a conversation, it was, again, opportunity that presented itself. The universe was like, "Oh, you wanna move to Portugal? Like, okay, like, here you go, here's the chances, like, take it." So I ended up here in a place and I wasn't working, we bought a boat, so we have a fishing charting company, but I wasn't doing the full-time jobs that I was used to doing, so I just had the time and the space to dedicate to writing a story. So I finally sat down, I was like, 1 hour a day, I'm just gonna write for an hour a day and see what happens, and then sure enough, this story came together. Yeah, and yeah, now I have a novel out. It was a wild ride, I kind of jumped into the authorpreneurship arena this March and just really dug my head in and learned as much as I could, as much as I could in the process. And this book by any means is not perfect. Like I've had so many technical errors and, little hiccups. And I did the self-publishing just because of the topic of this book. I interviewed over 100 people living with dissociative identity disorder, formerly known as multiple personalities. And so I have a lot of other people's feelings and emotions involved in this book that I didn't want to get changed because every publisher I pitched about it wanted to spin it to make this character that has DID be the bad guy, like Split, or how Hollywood always makes them these big, terrible, mean monsters that can just go and kill a billion people, and that's not it at all. So I really wanted to do this character authentically and respectfully, so I started interviewing and interviewing and interviewing. So when it came to publishing it, like, I owed it to these people that gave me their time, multiple hours a week and gave me their deepest, darkest secrets and things that were holding it back because this disorder comes from severe trauma before the age of 6. And that's how this, so it's just like, it's very personal and it's very raw and it's very vulnerable. So for people to trust me with that information, like I needed to make sure that it stayed how it needed to be and wasn't twisted into something. Cause I'm trying to change the narrative in fiction about mental health and not go with the stigmas with it. So yeah. So then I found wrote the book and now here we are.
Wow. A journey, right? I think there's so much here. I mean, obviously, I know you've condensed that version there and, shared with our audience that obviously your book's been released. You sort of came into I mean, again, what a term, right? Authorpreneur.
Author, yeah, I didn't come up with that one myself, but it is very much a thing.
Well, I know. And listen, I've heard of so many different, like, there's fitpreneur for like fitness entrepreneurs, there's
Mhm.
dadpreneur, a wantpreneur, you want to be an entrepreneur, but you're not, sort of thing. So you obviously you did that from March this year. So obviously you've been in this entrepreneur world, if you want to call it, or the hemisphere, however you want to say it, for the past 8 months, right? Obviously, as recording this episode, what like sort of came inside of you, or for it to be like, I'm born to, or I'm made to be like in this world of, being my own boss sort of thing and freedom, right?
Yeah. Well, I guess it started there was a random writing community in Madeira, and it was just once a week we'd get together and do creative writing, and there'd be prompts. And then the feedback I was getting from the things that I was submitting and saying was, like, really good. It was really encouraging, and it was just they're like, "When are you gonna write a book? When are you gonna write a book?" And I was like, "Eh, okay, maybe I'll write the book, like, we'll see what happens." Like, I'm at least gonna take the time to sit down every day and write because it is something I love to do, and I have the time and the space right now, and, like, with so many of my other like, I have had like, I worked in rock and roll, I've done so many different things where time was not something I had, like, I was working way too much. So now it's like, okay, take advantage of it, but I wanted to make sure I wasn't just gonna be throwing spaghetti at the wall, like, so I started taking classes, I did webinars and courses and a lot of conferences, and then I kept meeting more and more writers, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, like, there's a whole bunch of us out here in the world that love the same things and, like, find the beauty of writing things." Like, I think I love to write I would love to be an actress, but there's no freaking way I could do that, like, I can't even do live IGs, like, without freaking out. But being an author, I get to be inside the head of the characters, so I get to live these lives that maybe I would never get to do in real life. So with this psychological thriller, like, I get to write the darker side of things that is so not who I am. But it's really fascinating to write because you have to get in these mindsets and put yourself in situations and figure out how you would get out of them or how like, what makes sense. So you kind of get into these little rabbit holes of, like, research because it has to be done accurately, like, you can't just I mean, you can in some genres just make things up and it's fine, but you have to really portray it like this, and then I also have a rom-com series coming out, which is completely opposite, but the main character is Olivia O'Dell, and she's very loosely based on my travels, so a lot of her adventures that she'll go through these series are things that I've gotta do or have, but she is the wild, crazy girl that I always wanted to be. I mean, maybe now I'm a little bit more extroverted and more like that, but, like, she says the things that I would never say, like, she's a brash and she's funny, she's kind of Bridget Jones-ish, she dictates to me what she wants to be said, and she's, a very obese character, but wild and fun and, like, knows how to have a good time, but it's like, the stories are there because I live them. Living them through her lens and putting that twist on there has been something completely different because I'm learning a lot about myself too, like,
I
"Oh,
was
okay, like, I didn't know that about myself." So it's not completely just me and all my shenanigans, but there are definitely it's been inspired by the different travels and stuff.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I love this. I was just gonna say, what has that actually done for you?
Yeah, I mean, it shows that I'm very blessed, like, I've got to live a life a lot of people have only dreamed of and, like, to be able to have the courage to do the things I've done, like, I've never really thought about it until I sat down and wrote, and I was like, "Man," like, so many people always are like, "I wish I could do this. I wish I could do this. I wish I could do this." And my biggest advice is just do it, like, there's no difference between me and that person, like, I bought the ticket and I got on the plane. You didn't buy the ticket, you didn't get on the plane, but you could have, so which is so it opened my eyes of being like, "Okay, so if I've got to have all these experiences and meet all these people, like, how can I let people that maybe don't have those opportunities or the means to go to travel these places, like, how can it be like they're living there, they're feeling this, like, they're having this experience through a page versus in real life?" So that's kind of like the end goal, which is actually quite challenging, is to put into words that make sense what is here and what you've seen and what you're feeling. So I've learned a lot about my writing skill as well. Like, I definitely have improved a lot this last 8 months just by taking these classes and stuff and just really looking into the craft of writing. It's pretty intense. And these people that are like the best sellers, they are for a reason, most of them. Some of them just got lucky, but most of them are like, if
Yeah,
you
sure.
really look at the words, you're like, holy smokes, like you're a freaking genius. Like I'm crying here because of something you wrote on a piece of paper. Like I'm not even there. I don't even know these people in real life, but here I am having an emotional reaction to these characters.
Yeah, they're
And that's
creating
the
their
end goal.
yeah, I think you're well on your way, Danny. I mean, obviously hearing
Thank
all
you.
these things, there's a lot of sort of insights I've extracted here that I just sort of wanna just relay and share with the audience because they'll catch pieces here. So, first of all, you've immersed yourself into environments of people that you want to be around that are on the same page. There's understanding. There's a community, right? There's growth there to be made because you're looking up to people. I think that's really important. Like you're the smallest person in the room, but you're learning from some of the best, right? They're allowing you to lean into your creative self, your most creative self.
Absolutely.
But also, you've done loads of jobs. You know what it's felt like to be time drained, restrained, right? So your time's been. But at the same time, what you did is you slowly but surely allowed this sort of authorpreneurship to bleed into you without too much pressure because you was exposing yourself to it. But you had some element of financial coming
Mhm.
in, right? If
Yeah.
I'm saying anything wrong, please
No,
just tell
you're
me.
spot on.
Yeah, but what I mean is this is where a lot of people that listen into this show are at, right? So they have this deep burning idea inside of them, but don't know where to go. You're
So,
Go
yeah,
on.
to say my biggest thing on that is just reach out and ask people. People can't help you if they don't know you're looking for something. Like a perfect example of this is um, I was in Costa Rica, not that trip, but a few years later, and I was working at a music festival called Jungle Jam, and I showed up super last minute. They let me be the assistant, so I had backstage passes to everything. Slightly Stupid was doing their sound check, and I was the only one in the crowd because it was sound check, and I was like my own concert. So that was amazing, right? But then I came back and I was in Lake Tahoe and I had worked doing, like, showing people their seats at the concert a few years before, and it's, like, easy 15 bucks an hour, get a free show, like, cool, whatever. So I went to talk to them to try and get that same job, like, just taking people to their seats because it was easy, it was fun, whatever, and I went in and I talked to them, and they hired me to be their admin assistant on the spot. So now I'm working with all these huge, huge celebrities in the hospitality part of it, VIP. I'm the second in command, so I'm producing these shows just because I went in for a job that I thought I wanted. And what turns out this other job was a much better fit, but because I just took the initiative to go in and ask for a job, they're like, "Oh, okay, here you go." And so I did that one for 5 years or 6 years out of Lake Tahoe, and it was so much fun, so much work, but every show is different, so every day going to the office was a different job, like, I never was sitting there and doing the same thing, but it again is just, like, stepping back, don't think about the fear and put yourself out there because you really have no idea what can happen by just asking a simple question. And it doesn't have to be about like, "Hey, hire me for this job," but it can be like, "Hey, can you read my manuscript?" or "Can you read this chapter of something like this?" And they like it, and now they're giving it to their agent friends or who is going like this. Like, people need to see you, like, see who you are and what you're doing in order to help you, and if you're hiding all of your talents and your skills because you're afraid of putting it out there, then no one's gonna be able to help push you up. And there's room for everyone at the top, so you just have to not be afraid to step into the limelight, even if it's terrifying. It makes me sweaty just thinking about it, to be honest, but it's worth it.
Yeah, just like when you're on Instagram Live.
God.
But I just think just that there though is great for sort of the listeners in and bringing them into this episode as well. I think is great. So thank you for that, and I really love that. And I think as well you've accumulated so much evidence through the jobs that you've had, through the failures, through the scary leaps. So this sort of leads me on to ask you, what was the breakthrough moment? The
The
moment that
breakthrough.
the moment that got you like, I am not doing jobs. I'm doing something I love for the rest of my life. Like that's
Yeah. I mean, I guess it was that transition of doing the big girl job in Vegas to not having any job and having to figure out how to survive and make money while traveling. In the States, we have a lot of pressure to be these big CEOs, to be these big bosses, to run all these companies. And then you're traveling and you're just like, I just need a sandwich. Like, so I worked for free a lot of places. Like, I was running a hostel, but I got free accommodation and free food. Then I worked at a bar, so I got free lunch and free beers and I got to meet everyone. So it was Maybe doing
Wow,
a
that's
job that
amazing.
was not expected of me in the States, but down there, I was literally working for free. Like, work trading, I guess is what you call it, and even now, that's still my favorite way to travel is to go somewhere, find a place to do work trade. I did it in Norway, and I got to see the Northern Lights for 3 months where I couldn't have afforded it at the time to even have a chance. So I worked on a farm, I fed the farm animals in the morning and at night. I lived in the Arctic for 3 months. I hate the cold, but I got to see the Northern Lights. I did that in a cooking school in Thailand where I got to learn, like, Thai cooking from, the authentic right there, and then also in Cambodia on this private island because I wanted to swim with the bioluminescent plankton, so I worked in their restaurant in the morning for 3 hours and then had all day to do what I wanted and then worked 2 hours at night at the restaurant so I got free food and free accommodation everywhere, and I've got to have these experiences that you really can't pay for. Like in Thailand, we went up to the owner of the cooking school, her family's village, and they had just gotten electricity 2 years prior. And we went up there, they had just put concrete into one of the houses, so it didn't have a dirt floor anymore, and the whole village had a 2-day-long party. They slaughtered 2 giant hogs. Everyone was there. No one spoke English. Like, we were definitely sticking out, but they took us in, and I was wearing, like, their beaded vests they make when they're 16, these, like, beautiful beaded vests, and then I'm picking these, like, fiddlehead ferns and just, like, taking jungle things that I didn't even know what they were, and now we're making salad, and now we're cheersing, and we're laughing, and, like, we never spoke English once, but the bond that you can still have with people, like, you can't pay for an experience like that. Like, that is something that you can only get by putting yourself out there and maybe working for work trade. So, yeah, that's still like I said, that's still my favorite way to do it, but also just, like, putting away expectations of what everyone else expects you to do to have these. Because like, yes, I was working in a restaurant for that morning. Oh, man, being a server, I love serving. I love to talk to people. I know, surprise. But
Yeah,
then being able to
again,
swim with the bioluminescent plankton and then learning these Cambodian Khmer recipes and just, like, going around and, like, doing sign language with sticks in the sand because we don't know the word for drill. And then because of, the genocide, there's not a lot of people can read or write there. So now it's like, okay, how do we communicate if we can't just use our translator? Okay, we're drawing with sticks in the sand, like pictures like this. And it's just such a different experience to see how so many people actually live on their day to day that you don't get just from traveling around with your backpack from place to place.
yeah, I mean, I've got massive respect for you just hearing that. The fact that you did the work trade, I didn't know. I mean, I've heard people sort of, I mean, I've got a friend who's actually traveling at the moment. He sort of house sits for people. So they're obviously millionaires, they've got properties all over and he sits in their house. So basically gets free accommodation, but he just looks after the property, feeds the dogs, the animals, all that kind of
Mhm.
stuff. But he's living in like Dominican Republic, is now out in Sao Paulo. But I think it's just so good to hear this in the way that you've shared it because it's in so much more depth. But all the experiences, like you can't pay for those experiences, but they've shaped you on who you are.
Uh-huh.
Like, look at all the different
Absolutely.
things you've done that has led you to be in this place now where you're still doing loads of different things because that
Exactly.
gave
And
that gave
happy
you
with it.
fun. Yeah, you're happy.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So like you was happy doing all of that when you was not getting paid anything. You was just doing a trade off, but now you are getting paid for something. But you're doing multiple different things, but you're still happy.
Exactly. But at the same time, like, you have to be willing to put yourself in those situations that society might not like looks down at you for, like, "Oh, you're just a little backpacker that's going to work for free and do this." Like,
Yeah,
okay, but I'm also having these experiences. Like, when I was living in Denmark, like, I needed to have a job. I was like, okay, I need to make money. Like, what can I do here that will keep me in this place for as long as possible? Like, okay, maybe in the States I wanna do this job, but here, absolutely, I'll do this job because I don't know Danish. Like, I don't know the language. Like, how am I going to immerse myself in this community in a way? And no one and America's really the only place that I've noticed that is so, like, you need to have this job and do this and make this amount of money and have the picket fence and stuff like that. Like, so many other places are not about that at all. Like, it's about survival, but, like, being in Portugal now where everyone takes a 2 or 3-hour lunch, like, I need my fridge fixed. It could take a day, it could take 2 weeks. Like, it depends, like, who's around, what's going on, and it's just so much more
chill.
calm, but everyone is so much happier even and they're not making a lot of money by any means, but the happiness level compared, it's like, okay, it's 1,000 times better here than in the States, especially right now, it's a little crazy over there.
Yeah, it's crazy in the UK. It really is. But I think just what you've shared there about the pace of things, obviously the pressure, you've obviously eliminated the pressure. You're in your most creative place when you've not I mean, you want a bit of pressure, but like when it's immense amount of pressure to be a certain way, it dims the creativity, it sort of dims your
Mhm.
light. For you then, when are you your most creative?
I don't know. I think I'm just like creative 100% of the time. That's just who I am. I do not have the numbers brain, the logic brain. That does not exist here. It's funny because my sister, she has that more logical thinking brain and stuff. And we'll do paintings together. And I'm like a finger painter, smear, like squirt the picture paint on there
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
smear and then put more paint on. So I made 36 paintings in one by the time it's done. And my sister has like one antler on the deer done because it's not perfect. And it just shows like how we're different, but I love like the things that I'm doing in my daily life are still creative. Like I love to cook, I love to eat. Cooking is another creative thing. You have to be creative in the kitchen. You know, you're learning what's by traveling also really influenced that too, because I have such a palette now for different things that I wouldn't normally get. So like at home, like every day I'm cooking, like the meals and themselves are creative, or I'm writing, which is creative, or if I'm finger painting, like I just had house tours the other day and I'm painting some walls, but instead of regular painting, I'm finger painting them. So it's like, why not? It's my house. Like, let's finger paint this wall, which is a lot more work than you would think, but um, it's fun. That and I'd say late night, like when I'm supposed to be sleeping, is when I have a lot of the ideas coming in, especially for characters in the stories. Like Olivia Odell came to me at like 4 a.m. and was like, "Hi, I'm Olivia Odell, Odelli for short, because I have more rolls in a bakery truck and I may be fat, but I sure know how to fuck." And that's what she said to me. And I was like, "Okay,
Nah.
all right. So this is the character now." So yeah, so that's the rom-com main character, like based on this wildly inappropriate, hilarious, self-depreciating but humble character. So it's been really
Yeah.
fun to write her as well. Like I said, it's like she gets to say the things that maybe I'm thinking that I don't get to say, so it's fun. But yeah, this is what keeps me up at night is her fucking my
Yeah, this is mad. This is so crazy, but so good as well. The fact that you get all of this going on, like your mind, I can't even imagine how your mind operates. But the thing is, right, you've found something that you love, you're super passionate about. You've done things that most people won't do. You've written, and you're an author of your own book, right? I think that's awesome. You know, for you then in this sort of like past 8 months of being your own boss and having to, because obviously for you you've always done the trade-off, but like you've always found a way. Like I always find that you've been sort of in the trenches, but you found a way. What have you sort of taken away? Like what's been sort of the things that you could, maybe 3 points or 1 point, that you could share with our audience that you've sort of taken away the most from this past 8 months of being in this business owner world?
Well, I would say, like, we have to make money, right? Like, I love being
Sure.
passionate and I love finger painting my house and finger painting this, but if no one's buying this stuff, then, like, okay, it's a hobby, it's not a passion, it's not your career. So when I dove into this entrepreneurship, I was taking tons and tons of classes, and I'm talking meticulous notes, like 3 or 4 pages of notes per class, really immersing myself in that. But now because I've done that, I can take so say I've done 6 or 7 different conferences, and we're talking about emotional characters, like how to build those. Now I have 6 or 7 of the best authors in their industry telling me how to create the character emotions. And now I can combine that into one class or a course, and I can make that into a course that I sell later on or a checklist or like a lot of the things that I create is because I was looking for them myself and they didn't exist. Like a basic author checklist. Like, just tell me what to do. Don't give me an explanation of why I need to do it. Tell me when to do it. Tell me how to do it. And that's it. And it didn't exist. So I started creating work, like no BS workbooks. Like, here is what you need to know. This is how you can get it done. Like, obviously, do your own research here and there, but this is a good starting point. So by taking the things that I have to learn no matter what, but consciously taking the notes to be able to create something else down the road, I think was important too. Cause I could have just taken the notes for me and just been like, okay, whatever, like read these over there. But now it's like I can have, excuse me, 5 or 6 different courses on different things from all the things I've learned from all of these big industry leaders and really kind of narrow it down into something a little bit more digestible. Like I don't have time to read all the things about everything. Just tell me how it needs to be done and like this, and maybe one sentence as to why. But yeah, so being intentional about your learning and thinking about ways you could twist it into something else. If you're someone that likes to bring people together, I think that's one of my main things too, is I love bringing people from all over the place and having them meet and do that. So like now I'm going to start doing some retreats
All
One's gonna
right.
be a writing retreat, one will be, like, a women's empowerment retreat. Yeah, so just kind of like, okay, now it's, like, bringing that, like, my skills and knowledge here, like, how can I do this? Because retreats, if you do it right, you can make a lot of money doing that, and it's something
Yes.
I love to do. So now I'm gonna pivot, and all these people I'm meeting at all these classes that, "Oh, I'm in Madeira, Portugal, they wanna come visit." And I'm like, "Oh, well, I'm gonna do a writing retreat in Madeira next year." So now, just because I'm in this networking community, I have people filling up these retreats because of that cross-pollination. So it's kind of just keeping your eyes open for opportunities to monetize on something maybe you weren't expecting to do in the first place.
Yeah, this is great. So obviously, it's sort of like you've started somewhere, and more doors are opened. You're sort of aware as well of your surroundings. I mean, I'll be honest, Madeira, I've been there at Funchal, beautiful place, love it there. Been there on cruise ships and stuff like that. But I think you're sort of leaning into further growth and expansion of sort of what your journey is. Is there anything that you've learned along the way that probably was a bit of a shock, or not because obviously everybody from the outside will look into this business world, they'll sort of like maybe dip their toe in the water and be like, oh yeah, you have to maybe sacrifice, maybe you'll be struggling with finance. Is there anything that has come as a bit of a shock that you could share? Or
Well, I guess a good shock is there's so many people willing to support you than you even have any idea. Like,
that's
that
good.
was a surprise. I was really surprised at how many of, especially in the thriller author community, how many of these best-selling, amazing, amazing writers are willing to show you the way and take you under your wing and be like, "Hey, there's room for everyone else up here." And then also having the tough skin for the people that are criticizing what you do. Like, that was something I got all the time. Like I was saying, like, when I first started traveling, was like, people like, "Oh, hey, I miss you. How was your trip?" Like, "Oh, I wish I could do what you did," and kinda made me feel bad about what I was doing. But it was like, "Okay, well, I'm doing what makes me happy. You're sitting here doing a job that you're very unhappy doing, so I'm not gonna listen to you. Like, I'm gonna just let that go off my back." But then also, if you find something you enjoy doing it, there is a way to make it work. If you're willing to put in the work, like, you can't just ask for it for free. I mean, maybe you could, that would be awesome, but I feel if you put in the effort, the universe provides for you, like, probably 10 times more. Like, that's something I've really noticed this year. It's like, I guess for most of my life, I've been kind of a slacker and would say I probably put, like, 70% effort into things, whereas now I'm doing, like, more like 95% effort to 100, and then the response I'm getting from everyone else is just like, "Wow." It's like, if I would have just applied myself 15 years ago at this rate, like, who knows where I would be, but here I am doing it now. It's like, we're getting there. But that was something that I learned too, which is like, just if you're gonna make the effort, do it right, and just make the effort in general. Like, just starting small is, like, all you need to do because the momentum builds and the momentum builds and the momentum builds. So,
And the momentum is definitely built for you. I can
it's
see that.
going.
Yeah, it's going. It's happening. But I think as well, what sort of stood out to me, and I think is very important for, yeah, the guys listening or watching this back, is that when you go into this world of people all running their own businesses, like you say, we're all here, right, to provide, which means money's the tool for that to happen. That people are out there to actually help you. They want to see you win. They want to drive you. They want to get the best out of you, and that there is people out there, which most people would think that once which they're finding, because I know when people jump out of, say, an employed role and they're telling people about it that they're going to go self-employed, those people that are employed are like kind of pulling them back down by going, "Oh, you do that for? You don't need to do that. Oh, you're just going to fail. That's a stupid idea. What are you going to what? So you're going to leave something. You're not going to know what you're going to. You've got kids to pay. You know what I mean? Like they sort of give off all those sort of voices in their head to stop them from doing what they love. But you've openly said, yeah, but actually these people, and obviously there are people out there that will probably want to knock you down or maybe say stuff, but actually they want you to do well as well. They're happy to share every bit of knowledge that they've gained over all the years they've been doing
Absolutely.
it.
And I think that too is, like, getting a part of the community you wanna be in. So, like, I last summer, I was just like, "I wanna just get to a writing conference. I wanna do it." So I started entering writing competitions and contests, and I ended up winning a scholarship to Santa Barbara for their Santa Barbara's Writers Conference.
Oh, wow.
For just a humorous piece, which I don't really write, well, I guess now I write humor with Odelli, but at the time, I was not
Yeah.
writing humor at all. So I won this conference, so I flew from Portugal over there. I had to fly from here to Paris to LA, take a bus to Santa Barbara, back. Either way, it was a hectic. But when I showed up there, my goal was to be seen. Like, in a good way or a bad way, I wanted to be seen. I wanted people to know who I was when I left. So the first night I got there, I stood in the back because all the speakers at the front of the room, all of those people that were running the show would see me standing in the back. They could see me there. So now they're putting a face to me. And then the more I talk to people, and then they did a poetry stand-up poet open mic night, right? And I do not do well with public speaking. I speak very fast, but both days they did it, I stood up there and I read a poem that I had written in Nicaragua, and it was super dark. It was about, like, hardcore drug use because I was seeing it happen all around me and seeing people get sucked out of it, and it was just, like, how addicted they were. So, like, that's what I is that who I am? No, not at all, not to that extent. Like, have I ever done anything like that? But I stood in front of a whole bunch of strangers and professionals and read poetry because it scared the shit out of me. And because I did that, people came up to me, they gave me hugs, they're like, "Oh, we are so proud of you for getting through that," and I was like, "Oh, I should have prefaced that this is not, like, a true story, this is made up." The how many people were caring and willing to make sure that I was okay from this poetry and then doing like, being seen in this, and now that my book just came out, like, I posted in that group, like, "Thank you guys, like, I couldn't have done it without you," and, like, so many people in that group have come and bought my book, and they're already reading it and doing this, and it was like, "Wow, thank you," because like, you guys encouraged me to keep doing it and showing me what is possible and showing me that hard work does pay off. So
Yeah.
it is like, if you're gonna do it, dive in head first and do the things that scare you. Like, even if you don't wanna do it, even if they tell you to stop because you're talking too fast and they tell you to slow down and breathe, that you're not gonna pass out, listen to that too. I did, and I did the poetry thing, and it all worked out, and I've grown so much because of all of that as well.
Yeah, you definitely have. But I think there's been so much like change of environment, new people that you've just continually put yourself in those scenarios that have allowed you to be seen, like you say, and be acknowledged for the skill set that you've got, and that they've allowed you that space to lean into it. And you either
Mhm.
sink or swim, and you've swam and you've connected with people, and then you've realized, okay, you've given yourself that clarity on I've actually, yeah, I'm on the right path here. This is me. This is me. This is where I want to be. Obviously, now you can tell it is because you're now going. I want to do these retreats. I want to do it. I'm here. I'm there. You're already in. You're in your momentum. You're in your groove, right? You're on your A game.
Yeah, I am.
You know.
But I wanna go off of say something else off of that too. If you find something you really wanna do and financially it's a little bit out of your way, contact people. Like, there was, an online thriller school that just happened through international thriller writers, and the course was like $500 or something, and I was like, "Oh, I don't know if I just already spent all this money on a whole bunch of other conferences, like, is that really in my budget for this right now?" So I just emailed them, and I was like, "Hey, like, do you have scholarships available? Or is, like, there anything I can do for that?" And they're like, "Oh, no, but we're looking for a virtual assistant for this course. Like, if you could just help us send out these emails before, like, you can do the course for free." So
Wow.
now, for the past 12 weeks, I've been sitting in a Zoom call with the best thriller authors in the game, like, and it's just the 6 of us at first before the whole class gets there. So now I'm having these one-on-one conversations with these idols that I have, fangirling so hard with playing it cool because I'm like a professional, you know? And so now, like, because of those interactions, like, now, like, Tosca Lee just posted that she just posted my book on there, and Tess Worker, like, on their Instagram, like, they're sharing my book from that brief instant, all because I wrote an email asking if they had a scholarship.
That's mad.
So it's like, don't
So
be
good.
afraid to put yourself out there because you literally have no idea. And not only that course was amazing, like, that course changed my whole book, like, I was rewriting until the very end with things that I've learned, and then just sitting in this room, and all of them were so eager to help me succeed. They don't owe me anything, like, if anything, I owe them, but here they are still taking the time out of their day to post on their social media about my book, which they haven't read, but because I was in their class, because I was doing a virtual assistant position, they're taking me in, you know? So it's just like the worst people can say is no. Like, and okay, they say no. And it's like that was something as a kid. Like, I hated asking for anything if I thought the answer was gonna be no. I remember sitting on my bathtub with the phone in my hand because I wanted a girlfriend to come over, and I was so afraid to ask my mom because I thought she would say no. And my mom was super cool. She hardly ever said no, especially to like having friends over to come play hide and seek, like whatever. But that was something that was engraved in me as, like, such a kid is, like, being told no was such, like, I would just not do anything. Like, fundraising events for Pop Warner, I would take my savings and put it in my own Backet thing because I didn't wanna go ask people for money because I didn't wanna be told no. So now putting myself out there and be like, "Hey, like, do you have a scholarship?" Or, "Hey, like, can you do this?" And if they say no, I'm like, "Okay, thanks anyways," like, on to the next. So someone will say yes at some point.
So this is I'm mesmerized. I absolutely love that. I'm so glad you shared that as well. By the way, Danny, because I think that's just so great. The fact that you know you don't if you don't ask you don't get sort of thing. But just if people are not understanding what a scholarship is, what is that? If somebody was to ask for a scholarship for a course, is that sort of all funded, or does that mean they've got to partially fund it? Yeah, just let us know on that.
That'll really depend on the whatever it is you're asking. Like if their website like says something about a scholarship, like the one I did to Santa Barbara, that was just for the conference itself. So I had to pay for my accommodation and getting there and everything like that. For the Thriller School, I didn't have to pay for the tuition. I did do work for that, like, I did, virtual assistant stuff before and after, but it was super easy, super worth it, and that wasn't even anything that was listed. That was literally me just, like, cold emailing them asking about it because I was like, "Oh, this would be cool, like, I wanna learn about
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
like, how can I do that? If I can't pay for it, how can I do that?" And a lot of different places are willing to do that or gifting, and I also won a scholarship to the Author Nation in Vegas this past November. I wasn't able to go, unfortunately, because I had a book to finish, which would not have happened if I went. But that was another one that it was just participating in that community. I had bought in the ticket already back in January, but participating in the community, doing the events that they do, they were giving out, I think, 15 scholarships. So I got one of those as well. So it's just like, where there's a will, there's a way. You just have to put yourself out there and put in a little bit of the work. But if it's something you love and you want to do and you want to be, you'll figure out a way to do it.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a nail on the head there. You will find a way to sort of do it, and I think this is great. So just we are sort of like coming towards. I know it's crazy. We're sort of coming towards the end of the episode, and there's been so much like mic drops, bombs dropping, so good. I just want to do this before we get onto like the question that I ask every guest. Just in a brief, give our audience sort of like tell us about your book, tell us a little bit about where people can find it, what the name of the book is, just something that will grip them into probably want to take a look.
Okay, so my book is called Fragments of Affection by me, Danielle Blum. And the main character, Jess Lewis, has dissociative identity disorder, formerly known as multiple personalities. She wakes up covered in blood with no memory of the night before. The police are knocking on her door, and she is a suspect in this horrific murder or crime scene. She gets cleared for some reasons, but there is some memories in her mind that one of the other personalities holds that has the key to solving that murder. So the book is going through her diagnosis and kind of figuring out that and how to survive that. And then also the superpowers that are involved with having this diagnosis because you, like I said, you only get it from trauma before the age of 6, like severe trauma. And you have multiple people living in your head with their very own personalities, their own ways of thinking. So we deep dive into the psychological part of that, as well as have a little bit of suspense going on and a little bit of cat and mouse and stuff like that. And it is the main character is a lesbian slash bisexual. The personalities have different sexual preferences, so you kind of dig deep into that as well. So it's been really fun to write. Like I said, I've interviewed over 100 people to really make sure that I was doing it correctly, accurate, and respectfully. So it means a lot to me and to everyone that had collaborated with me as well. I mean, we actually have a little community that we've built now from this that I wasn't expecting to do. So I did a Kickstarter earlier in the year, and some of the systems have actually done the artwork for that. And we're doing a dissociative identity disorder anthology, which will all be on Amazon as well.
But it's great. It's dark. It's dark. It's dark. I'll be honest, but I like it. I think it's going to be so. And I know so many people as well. I think even Abby, my fiance, would probably love to read that book. I just think she's been reading like books like that as well. So they can find it on Amazon. I guess they can find it on Kindle. Is it all like audio version
Yeah,
as well?
it will be audio. I'm working on that right now. So that probably won't be out until probably early December, but it is on Kindle Unlimited right now. And then the paperback is wide. So you can either get it on my website, danielleblum.com, or on Amazon right now.
Brilliant. Well, it will be actually on audio by the time this gets released, so people will
But yeah,
have it. People will have access to that. So yeah, they'll be able to find it everywhere, which is brilliant. Well, on that note, we'll also. So, have you got any other areas or I guess pages where people can find you, Daniela? Any
yeah,
any
on
where's best to connect?
social media, I am Danielle Blum for all social media. And then I have my website is iamdanielleblumonauthor.com and danielleblum.com. Those
Okay,
would be the
brilliant.
best.
Yes. Okay. So if you obviously I know you're sending them me anyway, but we'll make sure they're all in the show notes. So it just gives everyone that sort of looks at this episode an opportunity to sort of find out more about you. Obviously, you've shared a lot here today, which has been brilliant, but it just gives them the chance to sort of click, get straight there. So this is the final question I want to ask you. It's what I ask every guest, and I'd just love to sort of hear your perspective on this. So Danielle, what does mastering your life mean to you?
To me, it means don't think, just feel. Because if you take the time to think about stuff, you're going to talk yourself out of a lot of really, really great opportunities. So if it's something that kind of fires you up or feels good or something like that, take it and run and don't look back. And I think that that is taking control of your life and figuring out like what's next. Follow that little passion and don't think about it.
So good. Don't think, just feel. I've not heard it said like that. So very, very good. Thank you so much for being with us today. And I'm really excited for this episode to be released. Honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on our show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. That was fun. I really enjoyed it.